Immediately, yes, I would. I would pick him #1 overall, but that you and Keyshawn have been running back and forth about, that thing that comes along with him called dad, yeah, that's going to be something right there.
Yeah.
You can tell right now he's going. And I was so funny because I was reading the article and he was talking about, hey, you know, he's guided Caleb's career all along. He's been here, and that's great. He has been here, and God bless him, and we appreciate that because we appreciate any father in his kids' life, especially with the rap that African-American fathers get. So let's just say that. But he said he guided his career. I'm like, hey, I don't remember. I don't remember seeing you throw a pass. You know what I'm saying? That was that kid. But refusing a medical this is a strange one. This is a strange one because really what you want to try to do is say, I want to get the medical out the way. Caleb's never had really any injuries and anything. You want to get it out the way so you don't have everywhere you go to have people poking all on you and trying to find out if everything's okay. So I just think that's kind of strange that you don't want to do the medical. You know, we'll talk about this later. I think it's strange that now guys don't even ever want to compete. I wish I could have gone to the Combine to compete. I just want to compete against the other guys that are supposed to be great or the guys that I'm going to be drafted against just to be on the same field with them. But, yeah, this is a strange thing, and you better believe this may have something to do with old dad when I say I'm just not doing the medical.
Okay. There's been some guys that have missed certain parts of the medical exam at the Combine. There has. I mean, you know, whatever the case may be, they couldn't do it, whatever. When you go through a medical exam at the Combine, Skip and Michael, as you both know, you've been through it, I've been through it, Skip has covered it. You don't visit 32 different doctors and 32 different teams. That's not what happens. They got your charts, and they're looking at every single thing. And then there's main doctors that are in the room that is doing all the examinations, and they pass that information on to the 32 teams. When you do what they call a visit, which is like a home visit, you get teams get X amount of players that they get to bring in, Skip, every single year to their facilities to have dinner, to see them. You know, they get a day and a half with you or whatever. You get to tour the facilities. They get to now examine you. And what Caleb just said recently here at the Combine at his press conference is that he will only, as you said, Skip, allow the teams that he visits to do the medical diagnosis on him, which I'm fine with. I'm okay with that. I have no problem, no issue at all whatsoever with that premise. Okay, now here's the problem that you have, though. What if the New Orleans Saints sitting at 14 says, we're going to pull a Mike Ditka and we're going to go up and we want to get Caleb Williams, but we don't want to use one of our 32 visits to bring him in? They don't get an opportunity to get that information now because he didn't give it to him at the Combine. You following me? What if the New York Giants decide sitting at 6 that they want to do the same thing, but they also want to bring in other people, so you put them in a bad situation on decisions on making a decision on who would come in for those visits. And I don't like that part of it, but I don't have a problem with him saying to the Combine, I don't want to do it because I don't want to really waste my time messing around with the Miami Dolphins, and I know they're not taking me at the quarterback position. I would be hypocritical to sit here as a player that has done similar.
But that's why not. You don't want to waste your time. Why not do it the one time at the Combine and share that information? You see, that's all but then be done with.
Yes, but I'm okay with him not doing it. You're right, Michael. If he did it at the Combine, everybody can get it. But what happens in these situations when everybody gets it, you know and I know, and Skip knows to a degree, they start playing with you now. Now he's this type of person to see see where his stock starts to move around. They start putting bad information out there. This is what teams do now. They start playing games. So I understand that caution. But now it digs a little bit deeper for me. Does he really want to go to Chicago? Does he really want to go to Washington? Is he trying to manipulate his draft positioning by saying, I don't want to do this, well, I don't do that, so people start to say, I don't want to draft him, I'm going to take him off the board. And he starts to slide. That's a bad move because you're losing millions and millions of dollars, Skip, from the first pick in the draft at $38.5 million guaranteed money with the Bears. They need a quarterback at 1. The Commanders need one at 2 at $36 million. Number 3, the Patriots. Then you jump all the way to number 8 with the Falcons that need a quarterback. So from 3 to 8, $35 million at 3, 22 at 8, Skip. And then if you fall even further, 13, 17 million, 20, the Steelers at 14 million, and all the way at the bottom at 32.
That's educational, Keyshawn, but he's not going down there. That's educational for the audience.
No, I understand.
But it's nothing he needs to know. He's not going anywhere.
I understand.
He's going to be right off the board.
But if you fall from 1 with Jaden Daniels getting this momentum, and you move from 1, and then all of a sudden, Washington decides that they want to do something different at 2, and then you pass to New England at 3, and New England says, well, we're going to stick with Mac Jones, or we're going to bring in Kirk Cousins. You got to be careful messing around. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Just got to be careful.
Skip,
no, ain't no stop.
Before you go, Skip, before you. Let me tell you why that is. Well, you know that's absolutely never going to happen. Because
that's not true.
Of what you're seeing right now. What are you seeing right now with Patrick Mahomes and that kind of talent, that kind of player, and people throw the way he moves and the way he plays and throws out a name like that. And in no way can Chicago pass on this kind of player with the Trubisky thing hanging over their heads already. There's no way, you know what I mean? So there's no way he can do anything that would drop him way down to that 12, 13, 14 slot. So us talking about it, that's a moot point.
No, it's not that he's going to drop there. It's you're not giving those teams an opportunity to see who you are from a medical standpoint. So they may feel a certain way to go up and get you. The league is weird, man, on how they draft people.
All right. Let's talk about the big picture concept of I don't want to give you my medical records, and I really don't want to let any of you examine me, but I'll give in, and maybe a few of you that I talk to, I'll let your doctors take a quick look at me. This smacks of coming from Dad. This smacks of what Keyshawn and I talked about yesterday and maybe the last 3 days here on the show. That father thinks son is so special, and I think he's pretty special, but he thinks he's so special that he can change the rules. This is what you and I talked about, Keyshawn, yesterday, where he wants to change collective bargaining rules and make it different for his son because his son's just way better than anybody who's ever come down the combine pike before. And his son wants a piece of the action. He actually wants to own a piece of the team that he is selected by in the draft. Well, that's against the collective bargaining rules. And what was the other nuance of this? He wanted something else yesterday, right? There was something, whatever. But the point is, as you guys know as well as anybody who ever came down the pike, this game you play is a really violent game, and there are a whole lot of dollars invested and often blown at the top of the draft because you have to know exactly what the player is medically because you're going to get hurt. It's not a matter of if, it's when you're going to get hurt because everybody's going to get hurt. And you need to know exactly how hurt you got playing college football for whatever you played for 3 years, whatever it was. And to my knowledge, Caleb has had no surgeries. You might know this better than I, Keyshawn, but I don't know of any surgeries. I
don't know of any surgeries.
Okay, I know of hamstring because we're going back 2 years ago when he won the Heisman. Remember against Utah in the championship game, the Pac-12.
He tweaked his hammy,
but he was dragging it all over the field.
He continued to
fought through it. He fought through it, and he actually played pretty well, but they lost another shootout because you play no defense.
And then he got healthy, and he played against Tulane in the bowl game.
He did. So to my knowledge, and I watched him very carefully at Oklahoma and USC, I don't think he's had anything major, but when you say, no, you can't see my medical records, the red flags just fly everywhere because people are saying, what are you trying to hide here? Is there something we don't know?
That's my point, Michael.
Did you hurt yourself in an off-season workout that we don't know about? Are we going to buy a bill of goods here? Are we going to draft you with the first overall pick and commit that much money in future to you? And we're going to find out you've got this or that and we didn't know about it? Well, that's just fair as fair. It's part of the deal that you, because of the game you play and the contact involved, you have to declare yourself medically. You have to be an open book medically and say, this is what I am and what I'm not, and it's for all to see. Everybody should be able to see it because that smacks of that you're not sure about yourself, right? So I don't like it. I think it's
no, I don't. And Key, I understand. I do understand what you were saying too, because as we were talking about it, I was thinking about this. Now, because is Dad this shrewd enough to see and say, well, Patrick Mahomes having such success because he fell in the draft? You know, and is he trying to get one of those teams or some other one of those other teams like you talked about, Key, to try to come on, let's talk to us about moving up so we can get him a better position, because he's already talked about not wanting to go to a bad organization, and you know, maybe he's trying to get out of Chicago. I just find that interesting.
But here's the way. Look, if you don't want to play in Chicago and you want to play somewhere else, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We've seen John Elway say, I'm not playing in Baltimore, I'm going to go to the Yankees, and then he was moved to Denver. He went on to have a Hall of Fame career. We watched the Manning say, hey, I don't want to play for the Spanoses in San Diego. They don't treat guys a certain way, but I want to be in New York in the bright lights. They've swapped, boom, Phillip Rivers. He's now the Giant. I understand all that. That's fine. The only thing that I'm saying in this situation is, when you try to manipulate the position at the top at the draft, just beware that those general managers and those owners think differently than you as a pseudo agent and as a player. They just think different. When you start to try to dictate to them, no matter how good you are, because this isn't Andrew Luck and then everybody else. This is not Peyton Manning and then everybody else at the top of the draft at the quarterback position. This is not one of those.
Although before those drafts, that wasn't how it was viewed, but go ahead.
I understand. I'm just saying a top guy and then somebody else, because Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf was right there. Bill Polian had to sleep on it before he made his decision. I understand.
RG3 was a hot commodity.
I understand.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But what I'm saying, though, Skip, is Jaden Daniels, by many,
he is
right in his hip pocket like this.
No doubt.
And the more that they keep watching the film, and the more that Jaden Daniels takes the medical, and the more that Jaden Daniels do this, and do the interviews, and do the right stuff, his mother is essentially running his show. He got an agent, but his mom's running the show.
Don't you go back with them away?
Wait, I'm giving it to you now, Skip. But you don't hear anything about her.
Right.
You don't hear anything about her. So it's a little bit different on how these people that run these organizations want to deal with you. I'm okay with Carl, as I said yesterday, being a helicopter dad. I'm fine with that. But you only could go so far, man.
Only so
far. If I'm Chicago, I'm looking at this. I don't know if I'm not holding on to Justin Fields, because I like Justin Fields. And I can need to build my team, and I can get a haul for that #1 overall pick. As long as I, with my eye on Marvin Harrison Jr., stay in that sweet spot and not let Arizona leapfrog me to get him sitting at 4, because the Patriots aren't taking him at 3, and Washington's not taking him at 2. So I still need to stay somewhere. So if Washington wants Caleb, I can now flop with them, get a 1, get some of this, and build my team. Justin Fields is good, man. I don't understand.
So let me ask this, Key. So you're not telling me you're taking Justin Fields over Caleb Williams. You're telling me you're taking Justin Fields so you don't deal with Caleb Williams' dad. Because the question should the question be, is Caleb Williams' dad. Can he cost him the first pick overall?
No, not at all.
Now, and I don't mind you talking about an organization, but when you start, let me just say, when you start thinking you can control them 32 real bosses, that's
what I just said, Michael. They're not going to allow you to do that, Skip.
Right.
No.
When Skip said, I'm talking about when Skip said we won't part ownership and all that. Boy, hey, listen now. You're saying things getting out of hand right there. I always said, I don't want them to get mad at me, that the mob, they're the boss of the underworld. But them 32 owners are the boss of the real world, the whole real world. Y'all can stop playing as we know it here in America. So, that's the question. Is Caleb Williams' dad and all the talking going to cost him that first pick?
So, Michael,
not at all.
Here's my question about this week on this show, and you just joined us for the first time today, but it has surprised me that Keyshawn is now off Caleb Williams, because the first time...
Have I really ever been on him?
Yeah, the first time we met back in August, it seemed like you were pretty pro-Caleb. He's coming off the Heisman.
I'm pro-Caleb.
You know him. You've been around him.
I like him.
Yeah,
but
you like him.
But I also, Skip, know the process. As I said to you many times, I know the process. And at the start of the season, a guy who's projected at 1 is not necessarily going to be 1 come draft time.
That's fine. Well, I've told you I got 2 reservations. I think he's not much more than 6 feet tall, but he is built stout. His lower body is...
Somebody told me yesterday, it was so funny you just said that. Somebody walked past him at the hotel, and they asked me, I said, how tall is he, Key? I said, he might be 5'11 and a half, 6 feet. He said, man, that dude ain't no taller than 5'10". I said, you're lying.
Really?
He said, man, that guy ain't no taller than 5'10". I was like, no.
Okay.
No.
And you know, so funny, man, because when we talking about this and I got to go do the combine tomorrow, I reach out to my guys, my quarterbacks, guys like Dan Orlovsky, and I say, man, give me some information on what you see when you're looking at these quarterbacks. Who does he remind you of? And we're talking about Caleb Williams. I know everybody throws out Patrick Mahomes, but even Dan kind of talks about the tour, his accuracy, and he's a little more athletic. He's more athletic than that. But it's so hard when you start talking about somebody up here with Patrick Mahomes, because what we see Patrick Mahomes. But I think his ceiling is more close to a Patrick Mahomes type talent.
I agree.
And in that case, stop the presses. I see what that dude's doing with that talent. I got to try to, no matter what, I got to take that talent.
Yeah, Keyshawn, as we talked about, the problem with Caleb at USC is he plays so outside the structure of the offense.
Everything. 75% is off schedule.
Yeah, off schedule. And I got you on that. But this is a very special playmaker. He was from the day he stepped on the field against Texas for Oklahoma.
Skip, I understand. He is a special playmaker. I've watched him up close, whether it was in practice or in games. I've talked to the coaches multiple times about it. But here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to end with this. I'm going to end with this. They fired an offensive staff in Chicago. Think about that. The entire staff gone.
Right.
They bring in a new staff.
Right.
A new staff, and they go draft a young quarterback and bring in an entirely new offensive staff. What are the chances that that team is going to go to the playoffs or have major success beyond what they just did with Justin Fields? My forecast is that entire staff will be fired in a year. Now you're going to start Caleb Williams all over again with a whole new coaching staff and a second offensive coordinating staff in his second year in Chicago. He'll be in the same damn situation that Justin Fields has been in, going on his third offensive coordinator and his second head coach. Do you want that if you Caleb Williams?
All right. We will get back to all of the above a little later in the show.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
It's the truth.
All right, we got to run because we got to talk about the Lakers last night here in L.A. I got a question for you Laker fans and for you, Keyshawn Johnson. Were you encouraged or discouraged by what you saw late last night?
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.